What's up, McLean? I'm your host, Ricky Powell, and last year I was nominated to tour with the Ohio Ambassadors of Music, and I was touring Europe there, and I toured seven different countries and stayed in some countries for 2 days, 4 hours, maybe 20 minutes, And yeah, May 16th, 2018 is when I actually found out that I got nominated, and when we found out how much it cost over $6,000, and that is money that I don't think a lot of people can say that they have out of their pocket. So we had to do a lot of fundraising, such we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. We did some fundraisers at the musical's opening night, and even did a spaghetti dinner, which the spaghetti dinner helped us raise a lot of money. So that was a plus. We did one at Jerry's Pizza. Also, the Tigerettes helped out a lot, and after once I did that, it was time for preparation. It was time to practice with the Ohio Ambassadors of Music, get my passport, my ID, and everything. Also, before I start talking about my whole entire Europe trip, I would like to give a special thanks to my mom, Angie Burton, my dad, Rick Powell, Amy Ernst, and Todd Ernst. They were a huge help in supporting me, and they were organizers of the spaghetti dinner and so many other fundraisers. My girlfriend Shaylee Bell has been there for me. Buffalo Wild Wings for letting us do a fundraiser there. I'd like to thank the Tigerettes for helping me get $300 out our last home game. I'd like to thank Bruce Moss, which for those who don't really know Bruce Moss, he was my band director on the tour. I'd like to thank the National Art Honor Society for donating money to me. And I would like to thank Blaine Weddington for nominating me. And I'd also like to thank everyone who's been supportive of me and has been there through all the fundraisers. So I'd like to give a big thanks to you, and now we can start with my tour. So another thing to note, when we got to Detroit, Michigan, we had a lot of trouble there. I actually didn't go to Europe with my carry-on bag, but luckily I was able to go with my passport, my money, and credit card, ID, everything they really needed. So the first place I toured was Windsor in the United Kingdom, and I got to see places like Windsor Castle. For those of you who don't know, Windsor Castle is home to the British royal family. I got to see the royal guards, the Queen's guards, changing of the guard, pretty much. And if you hear me mess up, by the way, we're doing this in one take, so that, yeah. But anyway, I got to see more of Windsor Castle. I got to see paintings. I got to go to museums everywhere. I also got to go and see other places in Windsor. I also got to see places like London, which is not in Windsor, but it's a different place in the United Kingdom. I also got to see double-decker buses. I got to go to Notting Hill, which, for those of you who don't know, Jimi Hendrix died on Notting Hill. So that was really nice to see. I also got to see the Towers of London, which, for those of you who don't know this lady, that was one of my tour guides. We referred to her as Mary Poppins, and she told us funny stories like how one of her tour groups, one of her tourists asked her to keep saying raspberries, which was really funny. And then interesting thing about the Towers of London is that they say that the ravens keep a watch over that tower, and they would always fly over it. And for those of you who don't know, and a wise tale from the Towers of London is that if there was no ravens there, the towers would fall. So it's a tradition to keep at least 5 or 6 ravens at the Towers of London to make sure it doesn't fall. And another thing interesting about there is the Beefeaters. The Beefeaters, we actually talked to one of them, and one of them told us that Ohio was not declared a state for a long time, even though they thought it was a state. But I thought that was really interesting. There's one in this part of the Tower of London. The royal crown jewels are stored in here. I didn't take any pictures of that because pictures aren't allowed there. There's one of the ravens eating a sandwich. I also got to see the London Eye. I got to see more parts of London. I got to see the Royal Albert Hall. I got to see cathedrals, rivers, and creeks. For those of you who don't know, this is the Big Ben. At the time it was under scaffolding, so I really didn't get to see a lot of it. I also got to see Buckingham Palace, which was like my favorite part in London. That's the Queen's Palace, if you guys don't know. I got to see more guards. Got to have my picture taken there. This is my profile picture for a long time. but then I stopped using it as my profile picture. Also, I got to see a London musical. I got to see Wicked, which was really nice. I didn't take a lot of pictures here either because taking videos and pictures during the musical is not legal. So I only took one picture before and took a picture of the outside. And also, they were very supportive of the LGBT community, and I got to see interesting structures and all that in London. This castle was used for Hogwarts, actually, the movie, the Harry Potter movies. This was used for it, I think. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I believe. I got to see a telephone booth and do that in Windsor. And actually, speaking of Windsor, I played my first concert in London, in Windsor. Yeah, right there. I played in front of Windsor Castle, and long story short, our music kept blowing away, instruments kept falling over, and it was really hot that day, so there's that. And I also got to see the Cliffs of Dover. I didn't really get a good picture because I was on a boat, but it's all good. Now, to my next area, France. I saw a lot in France, like the Eiffel Tower. And I also got to ride on a boat around France, and Paris is what it is, but it was really interesting because Paris is a really smelly place. It was a beautiful place in pictures, but you know, it's really smelly. But another interesting thing is that some countries in Europe actually costs you money to go to the bathroom. And there's a reason behind that, there's actually refugees from other countries that kind of hide in the sewers, and that's where all our waste goes. So they're trying to figure that out, and the way they're trying to figure it out is just making citizens pay taxes. That way they'll have a solution soon. I guess that's what it is. I'm not entirely sure. I got to see other museums. I got to go to, I don't even know, I can't even remember. I can't remember what the places are called because it's been such a long time since I've been here. This was a really nice place. The views from the Eiffel Tower were very high. I tell you what, I was only on the first floor of the Eiffel Tower, and this is how high it was. It was an extremely high place, and believe it or not, speaking of the Eiffel Tower, I didn't go all the way on the top. The highest I went on the Eiffel Tower was about the second floor, and that was it. I didn't go all the way to the top because of due to time restraint. Because during the whole trip, we were given free time to run around with small groups. So I hung out with 3 other people, sometimes 6, but that was mainly it. I also got to see Notre Dame Cathedral. I didn't go inside because it burnt down. And at first we weren't going to go to Notre Dame Cathedral, but our city coordinator quickly corrected us, and we actually got to see the outside. There's the scaffolding right now for where they're repairing it. And there's railroads, stuff. I got to go on all kinds of transportation, by the way, which was really nice. And this is where we played. We played at Napoleon Square. And funny story, one of the French photographers was getting really close and actually stepped inside of where people were playing, so I thought that was really funny. And people recognize the Ohio Ambassadors of Music, not just the Ohio Ambassadors of Music, but there's many other ambassadors of music in the U.S. that go to Europe and tour, so it was really nice that they got recognition. And I got to go to another museum. Not a lot of pictures were allowed in the museum, but if you have me on Facebook, I have like so many other pictures. Like the pictures that I'm showing right now are not even half of what I took. I took like over 2,000 pictures in Europe. This was a nice museum. This is some of the pictures inside the museum, which were really beautiful. And now, after France, we went to Switzerland, which was probably my favorite part of the Europe tour. Switzerland was known for its mountains. The place I visited in Switzerland was Crans, Montana, and I actually got to go up some mountains, and they're really known for their wine there, except I didn't drink, so there's that. They have a lot of great fields on the side of mountains, which is really interesting. I got to ride a cable car. I got to visit Lake Geneva, which is one of the largest lakes in the world. I got to see more fields, more everything. This is where the Ohio Ambassadors played. We played under a tent in Crane, Montana. And also, I got to see the Freddie Mercury statue, which is in front of Lake Geneva. Also, got to visit a castle there, which was really interesting. I got to go on top of another mountain. And I also got to visit more castles. Pretty much the whole entire tour was castles and lakes and mountains and everything. Right here is the Matterhorn mountain. It's a very famous mountain in Switzerland. I also got to take other pictures of stuff. I actually got to experience folklore, which is a Switzerland tradition where it's accordion players, a lot of dancing. They did the chicken dance there. It was funny. And a weird tradition is that for one of our dinners we had just bread and we had to dip it in cheese with these forks. And it was really funny because if someone were to drop their bread in the molten cheese, then the opposite gender would have to kiss the opposite gender around the table. I didn't participate in that because I felt uncomfortable with it, but it was really interesting to know about that. There's another view of Crans, Montana. It rained really hard in Crans, Montana. I actually had to walk in rain. Now we're into Austria, I believe. So in Austria, I got to visit more castles. I got to have a schnitzel, which is I believe it's a thin piece of chicken. I don't really know. I can't really remember. I got to go to some restaurants. I got to see some churches. Most of the choir and the strings mostly played in the churches. That's where they played. We played either outside or indoors, which there's another sign of the Ambassadors of Music touring area. I got to see more parts of Austria. I got to see one of the places where the Olympics were held, which was really nice. This whole round, I actually got to see someone jump from that, and I have a video of that somewhere. I got to see a golden roof, which was really cool. I got to see more mountains, more residents and stuff. And now moving on to Italy, which after Austria we went to Italy, and I think before Austria we went to Liechtenstein, and we were only there for 20 minutes because Liechtenstein is such a small country, so we didn't really see a lot in there, which is why I don't have any pictures of it. So in Italy, I visited Venice, and Venice is very populated. I took a lot of pictures. I went to a glass factory and learned how glass was made. Got to see someone make glass. I also got to see more monuments, more places. I got to see gondolas go by. I didn't go on a gondola, but I seen one. I got to see more museums. I got to see the choir perform and I also I bought 3 masks. 2 of them I wear, and one of them is somewhere in my room. I don't remember. But I didn't really eat at Italy because we were only there for like 4 hours and I didn't feel hungry at all. The only thing I had was sparkling water, which was sparkling water in my opinion is not really for me, but it's made of a lot of minerals, so people drink it anyways. I got to learn a lot of history there and stuff. And our last place that we visited was Germany. Now, we visited a place called Ravensburg in there, but also before Ravensburg, I should probably talk about Dachau, which Dachau is one of the first concentration camps that were built in Germany, which we got to visit. Now, I didn't really reveal a lot of pictures in this slide because a lot of them are graphic. Because I actually got to walk in a gas chamber, and I got to walk into where they were burned to death. I got to see this gate, which it translates to "work will set you free," and I got to see where they slept, and at least three people were crammed in each little area, which is, they pretty much treated them like hens, and it was pretty much a slaughter for everyone. This is a wall where I think they were shot and stuff. I'm not sure if this will get demonetized, but who knows. And they had special cells for what they considered special prisoners, which were Christian prisoners. Most of the prisoners there were Jews. And this is where a lot of the bunkers were that were destroyed when they were getting liberated. There was another gate. There was a chimney I took a picture of. You guys don't know what that's for. This is a grave for a lot of unknown. A lot of people died, but they're not known because of they treated them like slaughtered things. And this was people buried in execution range. Now, no more depressing stuff. This is Rothenburg, which is a medieval town that is pretty much the exact same how it was, except they had a bunch of electronics and stuff added there now. I got to see a lot of medieval stuff there. It pretty much looked like a really nice town. This is where we played. We played in the middle of Rothenburg, which was nice. It's live streamed somewhere. I don't remember where, but that concert was live streamed, to my knowledge. And I got to see all these other stuff. I got to see more stuff. And this was the last day. We had a whole meeting with them, and the chaperones put on a really funny show, which was like really funny. And once after Germany, I went back to the States, and I got to see my family, and I also got to see my girlfriend, which was nice. And then a lot of you want to know what kind of food I had, so this is all the food that I had in London. I had a nice hot dog, some nice chocolate, a nice British breakfast. I also got to I bought myself some potato chips. I had some Chinese there. I also, in France, I had some macaroons, I had a crepe, I had literally a chocolate chip. I also had some sort of thing, I had another crepe. This was like some sort of like breakfast pie. I have no idea what it was, but they literally gave us whipped cream just for dessert, which was weird, chocolate whipped cream. But I also had some meat, this was really interesting. It's basically cheese, it's like some sort of like meat wrapped in cheese that was fried, which I thought it was chicken, but then as soon as I cut it, I was like, no, it's not chicken. I also had some ribs at Switzerland. There's the cheese I was talking about. I also had, I can't remember what this was called. I had a croissant filled with Nutella, which was nice. There's the strudel I was talking about. There's more stuff there. You guys will know what that is. It's an ice cream cone. That's like literally the only thing I had nearly. I had some soup in Germany. I also had yogurt. I had salad there. I had a lot of salad there. That was pretty much it. And before I go, I would like to thank everyone who was really supportive of me. And if there's anything else that you would like to know, let me know. I was going to answer some questions, but I didn't get to that in time. So I'd like to thank everybody once again. And I've been your host, Ricky Powell. And have a nice day.